Inexperienced. Now, those are very harsh words for President Obama, and they come from Senator Orrin Hatch. Senator Hatch accuses the president of not leading the country and says we are going in the wrong direction regarding our debt problem. Senator Orrin Hatch gave us his ideas to fix it. Senator, nice to see you, sir.
Great to see you.
The debt. What are we going to do about it?
Well, we've got to get more fiscal conservatives here. There's no question about it. And I think the House now has fiscal conservatives, and we've got to get people to understand the truth, because they're going to get badgered and beaten up and so forth because they're trying to get things under control. We've got to have less government and more opportunities in the private sector.
Are we going in that direction?
No, oh my gosh. I can name 100 different programs for surface transportation. I can name 20 different programs for the homeless. I can name 90 different programs in other areas, all of which are supposed to do the one thing. These are federal government programs that just employ more and more and more people. When, you know, just a few years ago, we had a little less than 1 million federal government employees. Today, it's well over 2 million. And that's really happened in the last few years. The people who are in power now, the president and his people, they actually believe in the growth of the federal government over almost anything else.
Secretary of State Clinton was once said, if I quote her correctly, that the debt isn't just a sort of an economic issue and sort of quality of living for Americans, but it's also a national security issue. Do you agree?
No, I think that we ought to all fight for our own quality of living, and I think we ought to all work hard.
But does the debt relate to our national security? I mean, do we have to? I mean, do we need to concentrate on our debt because it has national security consequences? What I mean.
In that sense, no question about it. The more our debt goes up, the less capable we are of defending ourselves and doing the things that we have to do to keep not only our country safe and peaceful and this whole hemisphere safe and peaceful, but we're the one country that everybody in the world depends on.
Do we lose any of our sort of moral authority when we owe money around the world? I mean, are we in a position to tell China, for instance, to stop human rights violations if at the same time we're saying, will you lend us a couple dollars?
Well, you raised a lot of good points. Look, we owe China $900 billion. Do you think they're going to listen to us? We owe Japan somewhere around $800 billion, and that's just two countries. You can imagine we have the capacity, for instance, to help our country to get out of this energy crisis. We have the capacity right here in this hemisphere to do it, and yet everything this administration is doing with these radical environmentalists who are in control.
Can you just pick up the phone and call President Obama and say, look, we'd like to come and just sit down and talk to you off the record, without the cameras, without a lot of attention?
I can do that, yes. And I've been down there at the White House, and I made some of these points down there. They just ignore them. So
what's at the basis of it, though? Is it ineptitude, incompetence, greed, selfishness? They think they have a better way. There may be a better way. You could be wrong. I mean, what is it?
All of the above, but it's really power hungry. It's seeking after power and control.
And you think the president? You think the president is doing that?
Well, I don't know that he's personally doing that, but he should be leading. We know that to get spending under control, we've got to reform the entitlement programs.
Well, he says he wants to get spending. He says he's concerned about the debt.
But he's unwilling to lead. I guarantee you, he's unwilling to lead.
Is he lying when he says that?
I would never call him that. I like the president personally, but let me tell you something. It's going to take presidential leadership. There's nobody with any brains that doubts that statement. It will take presidential leadership up front, and we'll come behind him to get things done if he'll lead. But it's going to take presidential leadership to lead. Now, will his party allow him? The answer to that is probably not. He's not leading anyway. If I was president, I'd say, look, we're going to solve these problems, and I'm going to lead on them, and we're going to do it in the most reasonable way we can that is not damaging.
Don't you think he thinks he's doing that?
I believe he's sincere. I believe that he's a very interesting and I think a good man. I don't think that, if you really want my opinion, I think that he just doesn't know what to do. And some of us would help him to know if he'd work with us. But I got to tell you, I think that's part of it. I think he's inexperienced. We put a man in as president who had 2 years as a senator. The rest of his life was a community organizer. I mean, my gosh, that's important. But for president of the United States, he's a likable guy. He's articulate. He's charismatic. I think he's a good-looking person, handsome man. He's a person you want to like. You want him to be a success as the first African-American president. And it set a wonderful example. But he's not leading. That's the problem. And some of us would help him lead. He could have the credit. I'd do anything to help this country get its spending under control, its health care under control, and of course resort to being the greatest country in the world as it should be and as it currently is, but fast slipping away.